Let's learn how to use Auphonic to process audio. I'm using ScreenFlow to record a screencast to promote this tutorial on social media. I've already recorded the video and the audio as you can see here, but I'm going to make the audio better with Auphonic. So the first thing I need to do is get my audio out of ScreenFlow. And whether you're using ScreenFlow or Final Cut or any other app to produce video, what you need to do is export just the audio so that we can upload it to Auphonic. In ScreenFlow, all I need to do is go to the File, Export option and choose where I want to save the audio. I'm just going to go ahead and call this Tuts Plus -before. Leave it set to my desktop, and then from the preset dropdown, I'm going to choose Lossless Audio Only. And what that's going to do is output just the audio file so that I can upload it to Auphonic. Auphonic will handle all of the heavy lifting on compressing and making our audio sound great. So now let's go ahead and press export and send that audio alone to the desktop. So in just a couple seconds it finishes up, and now we're ready to jump over to the Auphonic website. I'm going to switch to my web browser, and you can see here that I'm already logged into the Auphonic website. As I mentioned earlier in the tutorial, you should go ahead and create an account if you haven't already and log in. You have 2 free hours of audio to process each month, so go ahead and give it a try. Let's click on Presets up at the top to go ahead and set up all of our compression settings. Now let's click New Preset. And now we have a lot of different options we can set to maximize our audio output. I'm going to go ahead and call the preset Tuts Plus just for the purpose of this tutorial. Now let's go ahead and set up the rest of our settings. So the intro and outro section could be really helpful if you're a podcaster, for example, and you have the same intro music play before your video every time. You could choose HTTP from the dropdown and point it to a file that's somewhere on the web to add it to your finished file each and every time. Now, in the basic metadata section, you might be familiar with some of these fields from iTunes, for example, where this data will show up anytime you have an audio file. Now, I prefer setting some of these settings for each individual upload, but for artists, for example, you could go ahead and put your name in so that it's always pulled into the output metadata. The extended metadata is some more data that you can add to the file on export. Basically, all of this metadata is just additional data that you can embed in your finished audio file if that's what you want to do. If your audio is a podcast, for example, and you're going to publish to iTunes, it's a great idea to fill these fields out. For me, I'm just going to merge it back into a video file, so it doesn't really matter. Now, the output file section is one you'll definitely want to check out. From the format dropdown, we have a lot of different audio formats we can choose from for our finished audio. The key divide here are either the lossy audio formats or the lossless audio formats. When quality is of the highest concern, you'll choose a lossless audio format. It definitely creates the largest files, but the highest quality as well. For me, I'm using an inexpensive USB microphone and I often can't tell the difference, so I usually will choose MP3 and then a fairly high bitrate from the bitrate dropdown, like 256 for example. And those two settings are usually enough to give me high quality audio. At a certain point, the bitrate really doesn't matter. You really can't hear the difference, and for simple audio recordings like we're probably going to be doing, these are perfect settings. Now, one of the other things that I might want to do is add a file name suffix, and for me, I like to do -auphonic at the end of every file name. And basically, all this is saying is that it's going to take the original file name and the finished version is going to have -auphonic on the end. That's about all we need to do from a format perspective. Now, down in the audio algorithms section, this is where Auphonic works all of its magic. And all I usually do here is leave the default settings checked, these 3 right here, and then a loudness target for podcasts and mobile. Because my video is a screencast, that's really similar to what I want to do. So finally, let's go ahead and click on Save Preset. So now we've set all of our settings up and we're ready to go ahead and run our audio file through it. So I'm going to click New Production here on the left side. Up at the top, we can choose the preset we just created, so I'll go ahead and choose Tuts Plus. Next, I'll go ahead and choose the audio file on my desktop that we just exported from ScreenFlow, and remember, it's called Tuts Plus -before. Now, all of the other settings are already set up because they're built into our preset, so now I can just scroll to the bottom and press Start Production. Auphonic confirms that I do in fact want to start the production, and when I click on Start Production, it'll start uploading the file. Now at this point, we could walk away and let Auphonic work its magic because it does sometimes take a couple of minutes to do so. So I'll go ahead and speed the video up to save you time. About a minute later, I have a finished audio file that's ready for download. So you can see here the waveform for the finished audio. I'll go ahead and press download to download the finished file, and you can see here that the file name has that -auphonic on the end of it, just like we specified. So now it's time to jump back over to ScreenFlow and add in the audio that we just exported. I'm going to pull this up so that we have more room to see another track here, and then I'm going to go to my downloads folder where I know my finished file is waiting for me. Now, the way that ScreenFlow works is I can actually just click and drag it into ScreenFlow. And now we have finished audio that lines up with our original audio file and is going to sound great, much better than the original file. At this point, I could go ahead and delete my original audio and leave it with just the Auphonic audio that we just exported. And that's really all there is to this process. You're just going to set those preset settings up one time, upload your audio, and let Auphonic do the rest of the work for you. I think this is a fantastic tool for people who dabble in video, because we can get great sounding audio without having to learn an entirely new set of skills. Thanks so much for joining me, and I hope you enjoy Auphonic as much as I do.